What's up, guys? I'm Alex Brown. I'm the sales manager here at Milan Media Co. The video today is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be really unscripted, even more so than our normal videos. But I'm going to be given 5 different sales scenarios from Kyle Milan, our CEO. So I'm going to get all these scenarios and walk you through how I would handle them. Let's get into it.
Scenario number 1, you're on a discovery call and the person doesn't talk much and only gives you 1-sentence answers.
All right, so you don't have a very communicative prospect. You have somebody that's sitting in your discovery call, whether it's in-person discovery call or you're sitting on your Zoom session and they're not really asking a lot of questions or answering you with a lot of detail when you're kind of answering or asking those questions. If it starts off from the beginning that they're not very communicative, you need to try and build that relationship. Maybe you need to ask them some questions. Maybe you need to get them to, try and admit to a problem they are having. If they're not admitting to those problems and giving you one-word answers, this might not be, the avenue that you need to take. You might need to ask them, okay, hey, take a step back and go, if you're selling marketing service, if you're selling a tool, if you're selling software as a service, really go in and try to identify what their pain point is. Even if they aren't giving you much information, I guarantee you they've given you something that you can take a hold of within the first minute or 2 minutes that you sat there and talked to them, that you can take a hold of and try to build that relationship. You need to try and ask them questions, maybe put them in some scenarios. That is one of the things that I do is I go, okay, hey, you've given me this information. If I'm going to try and solve your problem this way, how would that look to you guys? Sometimes just putting their problems or their issues into a scenario as to how you would fix it will get them to want to speak more. They might come back and go, no, that is definitely not how it's going to work. That's not going to work. We've done that in the past. Boom. That's some more information there. You need to try and grasp all the information that you can, and these are the clients that you have to actually sit there and listen to. They will be giving you information. They might not just be giving you as much information as you're used to. You might be used to talking to people that are very talkative, that want to tell you all their problems. You might have an engineer-minded individual that you're coming across that might not be able to necessarily express themselves as well as you as a sales guy can. I could sit there and I could talk to a tree all day. I know that there's some people out there that have trouble even talking to their spouses. So sometimes getting them to open up can be a little bit difficult, but putting them into scenarios, put their problems into scenarios so that they can even a yes or a no. Next scenario. As soon as you get to a scenario that works for them, watch them open up. They will go, oh, I never thought about it that way. Then start going down that avenue and start addressing those concerns and those questions and picking up on those pain points that they have and pushing it through to the next step.
Scenario number 2, what would you do when you realize you're talking to a prospect that doesn't fit your ideal customer profile?
Okay, so you're sitting in a discovery call. You might be 30 minutes into this discovery call and you start realizing, okay, this client is not meeting my ICP, which is my ideal customer profile. You should be able to tell that someone is within your ICP based off of some, generic research that you should be doing before your discovery call. If you go through and you're like, okay, hey, these guys could be a fit, and you start going through the discovery call and you start realizing, all right, hey, this is not really a fit in what, we're going towards right now. Don't alienate that relationship. Don't end that discovery call right there and be like, you know what, this isn't going to work. Let's just part ways. You never know what that relationship is going to turn into in the future. Your ideal customer profile might have it like, this is the minimum monetary amount, that I even entertain for someone to come in and do business with us. And if that is one of the reasons why they're not meeting that ICP is because they're beneath that right now, they're not able to afford that. Who knows in a month, in a week, in 6 months from now, if they're going to be in the same position. They could be 3, 4, 5 times bigger than they are, currently speaking with you. You need to maintain those relationships. You need to go, okay, you might not be an ideal fit for me right now within what parameters you've given me now, but as time progresses, as the markets change and everything like that, as companies grow down the line, that can turn into a really important client. So still foster that relationship. Even if that client never will be a fit for you, you're going, okay, hey, they've come in, there's no way even in the future that they're ever going to, not just because of monetary, because they can't use my current product or service. Again, still, you are a salesperson. You never know in 3 or 4 years where you're going to be. The new company you go and work for might be something that they could utilize. And if you have fostered that relationship, you're going to be able to go on to that new company, or hey, maybe your company offers a new product or service now that they can utilize. If you haven't fostered that relationship is gone. You're going to have to give it to some other sales guy. And even if they, somehow get into the conversation. They're gonna be like, well, I wasn't a fit last time, so what makes me a fit now? Making sure that you foster those relationships, even if they are not a fit, is key, and it will pay off in the long run.
Scenario number 3, your new prospect is giving red flags to either their expectations or their personality. How do you react?
Okay, so you're sitting in a discovery call and you're starting to realize that there are a lot of red flags that this potential client is giving to you. Maybe that their expectations are too high, maybe that they're wanting too much for, kind of what their cost or what their budget is. They're just giving you a lot of red flags that hey, this might not be the right fit just based off of what their expectations are or what they're wanting. You need to sit there and really pay attention to those red flags. As sales guys, we want to bring in as many deals as we can. We might be reporting to our sales manager, or we might be a sales director that's reporting to the CEO, and we have all these metrics that we need to meet. However, sometimes you really need to take a look at your customer and the potential client that's coming through and pay attention to those red flags. If they have way too high of expectations coming in and you're trying to sit there and relay to them, hey, look, these expectations of, if for example, it's a project and you're trying to build, a machine. Hey, they want it done in 3 months, but it's realistically 18 months for this machine to be made because it's a customized machine, and they're still harping, no, I need it in 3. I need it in 3. Sometimes you need to sit there and go, okay, this is not a fit. This is really not a fit because we're not going to be able to produce a product or a service that aligns with what their expectations are. Sometimes you can sit there, however, if they have some of these red flags, some of these high expectations, and really if you have, case studies that you guys have, with regards to your product or your service that you guys are providing, maybe sometimes pushing those case studies to them and going, hey, look, these are what clients of ours currently do and what they label as success. We have a case study, of our machinery, cutting downtime by this amount of time, all that. Those case studies really come in handy there because you're able to show them, look, clients in your similar space that are experiencing or using our similar services are very happy and everything is going well, and this is what they are expecting and this is what they are getting. Sometimes expectations come in. Sometimes people come into you and look and go, hey, I want to shoot for the moon with a Coke and Mentos bottle. Let's make a rocket out of that. Is it going to be possible? No. And sometimes you got to sit there and realize, okay, this is not going to be a fit for my team, because as a salesperson, this is something that many sales guys don't understand. And my account management team, sometimes even Laura here behind the camera, will sit there and go, especially when I was, at the beginning or beginning phase or younger in my sales career, is that I just want to get those deals in. But you need to form those relationships with your internal team as well. If you start giving them pain in the butt clients that they're not liking and that are just very difficult and are not, always asking them questions and always sitting there being a pain in their rear end, they're not going to like you as a salesperson. They're probably not, every time you give them a deal, they're probably not going to go above and beyond. If you give them good clients, if you provide that support, if you've vetted all the clients coming in, that you've set the client up for success even before you hand it off to your internal team, that both sets the client up, you up, and your team up for success.
Scenario number 4. You send a proposal and the prospect says on the follow-up call that your price is too high. What do you do next?
Laura, this is one of those, especially because we're a very focused marketing team. That is one of those things that I hear a decent amount when it's coming in. And a lot of the time I want to respond with good. I want to respond with good because you're paying for our expertise. You're paying for our knowledge. You're paying for us knowing the industry and knowing what to do. If it was cheap, then I would be concerned. If we're the cheapest option, I would be concerned because are we offering you that expertise, or are we just trying to get your business in the door so that we can learn? We already know the process. We already know what works and we know what doesn't work. So we have gone through those processes and we are consistently learning. We're consistently doing research, attending classes, attending courses, attending organizations. We're consistently learning as to what works and what doesn't. And you're going to pay for that because we're going to, when we're putting something together, just like if you guys sell a machinery or a part or a software, you know why you are priced the way that you are. And sometimes if a client's going to sit there and have price as their main objection, again, sometimes it's one of those that maybe you need to move on. Don't sit there and start throwing discounts their direction. Ask them, what makes you think that this is so expensive, or what makes you think this is too expensive? And sometimes you have to take a step back and realize maybe you haven't provided the reason why it's worth it. That is one of the big reasons why people will come back to you and go, hey, this is expensive. Maybe you haven't provided them enough information for them to realize that this cost, no matter how high it is actually worth it, and you have to have it. Sometimes clients just come back and say it's too expensive because they're looking for a discount too. And sometimes you got to play that game with them going, okay, well, hey, this is the amount of hours that we charge for, this service, or this is the amount that we charge for this product because because of costs is this X, Y, and Z. You don't need to go into the nitty gritty with them, but making sure that you explain to them why it is this expensive sometimes. Going, we are the experts. We have degreed engineers on staff. That is not cheap. If you want that sort of expertise in your marketing, you're going to pay for it. If you want somebody, who lives with their parents and is able to sit there and do, website design and some video and, get it at $2,000 a month that you're getting that for, then go for it. Is the quality going to be as high as us? No.
The last scenario number 5. Prospect is in an industry that you don't have much experience working in, but it's still a fit. For example, they ask, have you ever worked with a company that does XYZ?
Okay, so your client is sitting there and asking you specific questions. Have you worked with XYZ company before? Have you worked in the industry XYZ? You might not be able to pull direct information from that might be an industry that you're not fully familiar with. What you got to do is you got to go back and you got to rely on your foundation. You know what product or service you sell, why it's beneficial, and why customers utilize it. You might not necessarily be able to give them a direct example as to this specific industry that you've worked in or that you've worked with, but hey, you might have somebody that is a subsidiary to that company. You might have someone that's a subsidiary to that industry. They might work within that industry. Being able to relay the similar problems, if they're coming with problems that other clients have outside of, that similar industry, bring those problems into it. It's the same problems. They might not be able to go and say, hey, well, they're outside of my industry, so how are these issues the same? You need to show them why they're the same. They might be, an automobile manufacturer, and, you're bringing in an example of somebody that built watches. There are a lot of similarities within every business. They might have certain pain points. Your product addresses or your service addresses these pain points. So making sure that you relay to them, I might not have knowledge in this industry firsthand, but the product or service that I sell will fix this, and it will fix this way, and relay that information and put it in a step-by-step format. Going, it will fix X problem by doing Y, and Z will be your outcome. And you can always tie in, even if they are outside of industries. I've signed clients that are way outside of any industry that I have ever worked in. Sometimes all they need is to talk to somebody, of an even scale. If it's a CEO, maybe have a CEO that's another person that you currently work with to give them, hey, no, they know what they're doing. They might not necessarily know your industry specifically or worked in it, but they can learn, and they learn quickly. So that's how I'd go about it. All right, guys, that's how I would handle those scenarios. I'm sure Kyle over there in the office, if he's looking at me right now, would probably handle them a little bit differently, but every sales guy out there, you yourself, might be handling them a little bit different. I'd love to hear how you would handle them. If you think that I'm wrong on one of them, please let me know. I'm always out there to learn. I'm a newbie when it comes to this world anyway, so teach me something as if I can teach you something. All right, guys, we're Milan Media now. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. Make sure you're following us on all social media platforms. You could listen to this on any one of those podcast apps that you guys have downloaded on your phone. I'll catch you guys on the next one. I hope you have a good one.